So when it comes to branding for the supplement business, I had to take a few different approaches of just trying to understand what brand meant, just because it was such a broad topic. But this video is pretty much me gonna be unpacking the thought process from where I am now to when I first started looking into branding. And so when I first started looking, it was mainly looking at people like Alex Hormozi or Gary Vee. They've had a lot of experience in the field of just content creation and pushing their name out there, especially for their businesses. And branding has been, according to Alex Hormozi, one of the biggest levers for him to be able to maximize outputs for as little inputs as possible. And so that's basically just him having to do less work to get a better result. And so when looking at my supplement business particularly, not that I'm trying to cop out on work, but if I can spend more time working on things that are going to give me more results in the future, that's going to be the biggest play. And so brand's probably one of those big plays. So particularly with Alex Hormozi, brand is something he describes as the association or pairing between two things. Typically, you're pairing something that your customer knows and likes with something that your customer doesn't know. And so typically the thing that your customer doesn't know yet is your business. And then you want to be pairing your business with things that they like, things that they enjoy, or things that they really support or huge advocates for. And obviously in the inverse, if you're trying to get as far away from your target audience as possible, you want to make brand pairings and associations with people and things that couldn't be anything further from your target audience's interests. So with that in mind, it made it much easier to start thinking about what people I want to pursue in terms of influencers. And going back to Alex Hormozi as well, it was very easy to mirror his thought process because he actually did something similar for his supplement business, Prestige Labs. And he's also doing something similar for his business now. But rather than particularly influencers, it's more just the brand side in general and what kind of messaging he's targeting with this content. But going back to influencers, so this document here on my first screen is pretty much a Google sheet of just a list of influencers to reach out to when the product's actually launched. So you've got the names of the influencers, the type of influencer, depending on which kind of target audience it would be based for. So that could be entrepreneurs, it could be a gym influencer for people who watch gym content, it could be a biohacker or fitness coach, typically because they serve my target audience, or you have little niche ones like high performance athlete, maybe someone who puts content out there for news in the fitness space, mindset coach, testosterone coach, all those small little niche kind of target audiences that I can find as influencers. And then of course what kind of platform I find them on, which is mainly Instagram, and then follower size, which ranges upwards of less than 1K if we're going really small, up to in the millions. And I'll explain later how you can actually, or at least my plan on getting conversations with people with large followings. And just before I pivot off that as well, you can also try to pair with different organizations as well. So I'm looking at fighting gyms, fighting promotions, sporting leagues. We can look at certain businesses that promote certain ventures with entrepreneurship. These kind of little pairings are important because it reflects the kind of target audience I want to attract. For example, it wouldn't be smart for me to pair my supplement with a kids toy brand because I'm not looking to attract kids for the supplement, and it's more of a older male kind of target audience, and particularly entrepreneurs, biohackers, high performance athletes. So even for example, someone who's not interested in business and isn't looking to actually get physically fit and healthy would not be someone I want to attract. So I wouldn't be pairing my supplement particularly with people like Hungry Jacks and McDonald's. Not necessarily because those kind of people don't have small percentages of my target audience, but typically overall, it's going to do more to disappoint my target audience by the supplement being paired with that brand, as it would actually not really serve them So that's why thinking about what kind of pairings I want to make is very important moving forward, because Alex explains branding like a bouquet of flowers. And typically if you have one flower that doesn't look right, or is dead, or is out of place, that serves as pretty much a pairing you've made with your brand that doesn't align with your target audience. And it stands out to your target audience as well. And when they see that, they're not going to be very impressed, and they're not going to really want to associate with it as much as if it was a full, correct, paired overall brand to best serve them as a customer. So that even goes for those businesses which will look to make just volumes of content rather than actually focus on taking a specific path and having an intentional filter to go through when posting, because there's plenty of people out there that excuse me. There's plenty of people out there that will just make different posts around their product or their service, and they won't actually intentionally think, what kind of target audience is this going to attract? And do I want my existing target audience to feel like that they're associated with that kind of people? It sounds almost like you're segregating or keeping them in a bit of a bubble, but in reality, you really want to, because if they feel like that your product is as specific for them as possible, they're going to feel a lot more like they're being served more particularly and better. So, for example, if you're selling a health product, you want to try and keep it towards a specific group of people that are more orientated around that product. And you don't want to start including backgrounds or pairing with certain influencers that don't align with what your target audience would normally be aligned with. And so with that said, I've obviously showed you that list there, but here is basically a mind map which I've been doing. If I can zoom out, it's not done. I'm going to do it for heaps more as I keep adding more high following count influencers. But this is pretty much what I'm doing to visually break down how I'm going to get in touch with influencers that have 100k followers, 500k followers, million plus followers. And so, for example, if we look over here, you've got very famous MMA star Robert Whittaker, for example. And so the yellow would be him, and then the branches out here, these four here, would be accounts or people or organizations that I'd be able to reach out to and have a higher percentage chance of getting a response rate. Because someone who has 1.9 million followers and is training MMA full-time is not going to have time to check my DMs. And obviously they might have a team behind that checks the DMs, but they're not actually going to see something with a 1.9 million following. And so, for example, the green here is the organization, and then the blues are just people that he has associated with that you're able to reach out to. So, for example, the green only has 11.7k followers, and that's just the gym he trains at. And realistically, compared to 1.9 million, 11.7k followers has a much higher percentage of me getting a response rate. Obviously, it depends on if I verify my account, if the messaging's good, and if it allows me to get an open or even a response rate. But that's just increasing the odds for me to be able to get a good response rate. Another one, these guys are just coaches or other fighters that are just in the amateur leagues at the gym that he's associated with from just training under the same roof and walls as these other fighters. And these guys have got 11.2k, 3k followers, which would be a good one to hit, and 6k followers. And so these guys are going to be prime targets for me to be able to associate with first, and as a stepping stone to get closer to someone like Robert Whittaker, who's got 1.9 million followers. Now, with that said, obviously haven't tested this. This is all theory. As much as it might sound good me saying this out loud and really practical, this is all off a hypothesis of the fact that if they have a lower follower count and also are in the same circle as big influencers, then I'll be able to get in touch with them and use them to build a relationship and stepping stone towards the larger follower people to get more brand awareness. Now, that might not necessarily work. And the only thing that you can really do from there is just accept the fact that, okay, this didn't work. So you move on to the next attempt. And so you got to keep going and going and going until you try different paths that actually one day the door actually opens and you can go on to the next problem of how you can leverage a high follower to actually get sales through to your product. So this is obviously a test, but I just wanted to break down my thought process on digesting a lot of content around brand and how I'm actually going to apply that to the supplement business. That might help someone with their e-com store if they're watching this, or it might be someone who's actually building their own supplement, which would be pretty cool if they're watching this. But hopefully that helps. And so I'm going to leave that there and probably make a video when I've got something a bit more, not interesting, but something new to unpack as well. And so I'll leave that there. So just keep in mind that you can use this stuff like mind maps and then also Google Sheets here just to unpack and keep a track of all your data and just have stuff visually there to look at and analyze in a different way. Because it's much easier to put these things out there on documents or in sheets than keep it all in your head. The less you can actually have in your head, the more room you have to think of new things and actually process thoughts that go through your mind. So if you can have it all out there on document, there's less here crammed in your brain, stopping you from actually getting a good flow of thought, or at least what I found. But yeah, I'll stop waffling now. I'll leave it there. See ya.